Hi, I'm Alice Maggio, and this is the BerkShares Business of the Month. It's a monthly feature of one of our 400 businesses that takes BerkShares, our local currency for the Berkshire region. And this month we're featuring TeamFlys, and my guest is Trevor Gilman. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about TeamFlys, just to get us started.
Well, TeamFlys is, we provide two basic services. We provide a flight school and we provide scenic flights. So it's kind of two separate businesses in one. The flight school is primarily designed toward private pilots, kind of a hobby level of pilot license. We do encourage people to go on beyond that, but we kind of guide them if they're interested in a career beyond the personal, private level to move on and help them find schools and help them along in their career beyond that. So we do the flight school, and then we have a tourist-based business, which is Scenic Flights of the BerkShares.
And where is TeamFlys located?
It's located at the North Adams, Harriman, and West Airport.
Okay, and that's right between Williamstown and North Adams?
It's right on Route 2, right on the property line. It's actually partially in Williamstown.
So tell me about, we were talking a little bit before, and you were saying how it's a kind of interesting startup story for a startup business.
Yeah, so we're not a typical startup business. We didn't go to the bank with a business plan and take out a loan for a bunch of money to float us over a period of time. What this was a group of volunteers, basically, that saw a lack of services that needed to be provided. There were 3 instructors in North Adams who had previously worked at this same similar business in years past for different people and had moved on in their careers. One of them flies as a captain for a regional airline. One of them is a corporate pilot. I'm a corporate pilot. So we all had careers that paid us an income. However, we really wanted to see this succeed. We wanted to see these services here in North Adams for the love of the airport, and in knowing the business so well from all having been involved in it in the past, we decided that we would start this up kind of as volunteers. So we all put our time off together, and amongst the 3 of us, we started teaching new students. We found a principal investor that bought the airplane, and then with no money in the bank, we just started up this business. We started taking on students, and we have grown only to what we can afford to grow. We haven't taken any loans to do a big expansion. We've just slowly, over 3 years, have gotten up to the point where this summer we think we're going to hire our first regular full-time employees. So if you wanted to take a flight around the Berkshires, then you could go to TeamFlys and do that? Yeah, so this business has been based highly around technology. We've been able to work these schedules of these volunteers that are the pilots because we have an online booking system that connects the customer through our website. It knows what the airplane's schedule and availability is. It knows what my schedule and what my coworkers' schedules are that are separate from their regular jobs. And then it takes all that and it tells you what days are available and what times are available, and it allows us to connect with the customer. And basically, we run 363 days a year.
Really?
And yep, if the sun is up, we're pretty much operating.
Wow. And so, what do you find your customer base has been?
It's some locals, but I would say it's probably 85% outside the area. And that's one of the most interesting things to me in this business is before I got into the tourist trade, so to speak, I had no idea how far people came from to North Adams, to North County. I've met people from all over the world, and you start asking them questions about, okay, well, what brings you out here? You're on vacation. Well, are you staying, where are you staying? We're staying right in North Adams. We rented an apartment we found online. They're from Switzerland, let's say, and they're just spending their entire week in North Adams visiting the Hoosick Tunnel and doing bike paths and things that we take for granted you don't even think about. Someone would travel all the way around the world to come here and experience what we have here.
So you grew up here, right?
I did, yeah.
And so you were telling me earlier about how you have a different job that takes you all around the world. What's
do.
that?
So my primary job that pays me my income, I'm a corporate pilot for a wealthy family in New Hampshire. And I also do contract work for many other companies around the country that have a similar type airplane. It's a corporate jet with a range of 3,800 miles, so it can take me all around the world. And I've seen a lot of different places. I've seen a lot of different tourist destinations, some big, some small. And I like to bring some of those ideas that I see in different places back to people that can implement things here in North Adams. It's fun to see what's been successful in other places and try to give people some ideas back here at home.
And your business now, TeamFlys, is kind of bringing that same kind of worldly experience to the Berkshires, because it's bringing more tourists, or it's working with tourists that are coming to the Berkshires.
Yeah, we hope to be one of the reasons, or one of the things people decide to do when they come here. I mean, obviously, we're not advertising around the world and drawing people to North Adams to go take a scenic flight. Mm-hmm. But I think once they get here, what we've found is, especially the people that are staying in the week-long condos, a lot of connection to the Jiminy Peak area and how they're drawing in people that aren't here for 1 or 2 nights, but they're here for 7 days. Well, when they get here for 7 days, they might have a few things in mind that they intend to do when they come to the Berkshires, but then it's day 3 and it's day 4, and now they start looking to find out what's around here, and that's when they find us, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so to have run this business for 3 years and managed it for 3 years as a volunteer, you must really love what you do.
Yeah, you couldn't do it without loving what you do. I mean, basically I do it because I love the community that's over there at the airport. From my first job instructing in the same building that I'm volunteering in now, I've gotten to know the entire community over there, not just in North Adams, but at the Pittsfield Airport, at the Great Barrington Airport, at the Bennington Airport. It's a really small community. So all the businesses that are at those locations and all the pilots, we have monthly cookouts in the summer. It's just a big club is what it is. And so I found myself spending all my spare time. I have a wonderful job that gives me a lot of time off. So most people would go out and play golf every day, but I found myself having coffee with the other pilots over at the airport and helping out. You know, I'm an instructor, so I sign off all the people that are currently pilots to be able to keep flying for another 2 years. They need a renewal, so to speak, on their license, so I do all that. That's how I get connected to all these different people. And just that sense of community, I feel like I just got hooked on.
Tell me a little bit about the ecosystem of the airport itself, because as somebody who doesn't fly from small airports very often, I don't really know how that all works. Mm-hmm. And I think you were telling me earlier about how that actually has a big impact on, there's a lot of spending there's a lot of little businesses at the airport.
Right. Yeah, part of our problem at TeamFlys is we're not on Main Street. We're not as visible to the rest of the community because we're hidden off the road out at the airport. And so the location that we're in, people that fly, people in airplanes, people that come to visit Williamstown, North Adams, North County by airplane know us very well. But the people that live in the community and drive down the road and go right by the airport don't know us so well. And I remember before I got into flying, not even knowing what happened beyond the fences over there. If you pull up to the fence, kind of looks abandoned. Mm-hmm. You don't know how many airplanes are based, and they're all in hangars, they're all hidden away. So it doesn't look like there's much going on over there. But if you're there on a daily basis, you see everything from military operations to emergencies to the 5 businesses that are employing 30, 40, 50 people over there. And just being part of that, I got involved in managing the airport, and then I got on the airport commission as far as working towards projects to grow the airport. It just sort of snowballed from that, and now I sort of have my fingers in every aspect of it over there.
So what are the things you're looking forward to for TeamFlys and for the North Adams Airport?
Well, North County, specifically North Adams, has so much going on as far as major projects. I mean, there's news every single day about a new investor outside the area dumping money into an old mill and turning it into something else, and the museums that are coming. The airport specifically has a project that's been proposed. We don't really have much details yet, but of a huge a museum complex. So the tourism in North County is really on the cusp of, I think, something great. South County has always had that draw from Connecticut and New York, and I think North County has struggled to get them continuing north, and so there's a real push to infuse some money into making it a cultural destination up here, and I think we can only benefit from that. Mm-hmm. And even further, the airport itself is on the cusp of spectacular things. It's been, when I started there, grass growing up through the ramp just looked desolate. And over the past 10 years, we've probably had more money spent at the North Adams Airport than anybody besides Logan in the state of Massachusetts. Wow. I mean, we've had $1 million project after $1 million project every single year for the past 12 or 13 years, to where the point now is, excuse me, we have brand new pavement on the entire surface of the airport. We've cleared trees on the approaches of both ends. We've introduced an instrument approach which will allow different types of operations. And we're on the cusp of building this summer a $4.5 million administration building, which will have a restaurant in it. And so all these things, the infrastructure is now in place for bigger and better things over there. And so I think we're right at the point where we can benefit from the airport growth and the community growth together.
So tell me about how you get your new influx of pilots and how you see that as being a domino effect to creating jobs.
Well, the flight school, although it's really we call it a nonprofit, but even though we're not officially a nonprofit, the flight school really is a nonprofit, just love that we pass on to other people. But the reason we do it, other than growing our club, is it grows the customer base at the airport. It is the lifeblood of the airport. New people getting their license buy airplanes. They rent our airplane. They buy gas. They have maintenance. There's all these other services that are provided by some other businesses at the airport, and then hopefully some that we will provide in the future, where we can capitalize on our own created customer base.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any kind of, beyond teaching people that come to you, do you go out and find people who might want to learn how to fly?
Do we search for customers? Yes, absolutely. This actually is our big month coming up. March is, we probably spend 80% of our advertising budget, which is not very much, but we spend most of it in March because we have designed the flight school around a kind of a season that you would see a dairy bar operate. From April to October, what is considered the prime summer season up here, is what we try to get students to get their license in. We try to get them to start in April and be done by November. And we like to pack it into I know that doesn't sound like it's a real packed in course, but it's extensive. The course is, it's not a weekend thing on the internet. It's 40 hours of flying and a lot of book work and tests. It's sometimes an overwhelming undertaking, but we try to pack it into a tight schedule because it saves them money. It's become a very expensive operation to get your license as opposed to, the price of gas and insurance and everything has just gone up over the years. And so we've done everything we can to keep those prices as low as possible for the customer because we're not going to make any money on them anyways. At this point, we want to get as many people as we can to do it. And so we're pushing right now for new students to start up in April and hopefully to add another, 5 or 10 new pilots this year to the group.
And so how old would you have to be to start learning how to fly?
It's funny you asked that. The youngest you can solo at, meaning you can fly the first time without an instructor, is 16 years old. And then you can't get your license until you turn 17. And just last week, we had our first 16-year-old solo on his birthday.
Cool, that's fun.
And then we get people that, are retired, they're 65. We get a lot of people starting different phases of their life. They're looking for something to just, spruce up, 40, 50 years old, that phase where you're starting to think about, okay, I'm comfortable in my job, but I'm kind of in a rut. We get people that just retired. We get high school kids. It's a huge range of different types of age people, and male and female.
So how did you start flying?
Basically failed at everything else. No, I went to school. I went to college as a criminal justice major, just hated it. Then I went and started as a math major, which I was always good at math in school and just wasn't interested. I thought, what am I going to do, teach math for the rest of my life? And I took lessons on the side, and I thought, boy, I wonder if I can make a living doing this. It's something I love. And then I found that, and I tell this to everybody now when I go to the high schools and we're trying to recruit kids in the high schools, I always tell them to just follow whatever it is that they love to do, because it's so much easier to, now I'm volunteering 40, 50 hours a week for nothing, for no pay, just because I love it so much. So it's so much easier to succeed at anything if you just love doing it all day long.
Mm-hmm. So how can somebody get in touch with you to learn about anything that you do, either scenic flights or lessons? So
we have a website, TeamFlys.com, which is kind of got a weird spelling, TeamFlys.com. And it goes back to our whole team mentality, the volunteers. It's all group of the airport people that have all come together to make this happen. Which is why it's named that way. So teamflys.com, and then 413-652-1274.
So what brought you back to, or if you grew up here and then now you're a commercial pilot, why do you still live here? What do you like about it?
Well, I love the summers here. I can't say I love the winters. I mean, this ski season's been a bummer, but the summers, I haven't found anywhere else on the planet that I would rather spend the summers. And so someday I'll probably be a snowbird. But all my family, all my friends are here. The fact that you can drive down the road and you're looking at every car driving by you to wave to the people you know doesn't happen anywhere else. It sounds kind of silly, but going to the supermarket and running into 2 or 3 people to say hi to is a totally different lifestyle than living in Fort Lauderdale, and kind of the only time you see someone is back at your house.
Mm-hmm. I can relate. I like that too. What made you decide to start accepting BerkShares at TeamFlys?
We're just trying to get our name out there to as many people as possible. And it was primarily a South County program when we signed up for it. But we thought, what the heck, we'll do everything we can to, we accept every credit card there is out there. Why not something that's more local? The local tourist economy is where we're growing in, and we want to support it as much as take advantage of it. And so I thought, what a great connection to the rest of the community, and hopefully as it grows more North County, we'll have more of a connection to that program.
And just to tell everybody watching, it is free to take BerkShares. It's 100% free. All you do is say, I would take BerkShares. And you can sign up on our website, which is berkshares.org. And it's easy to do, right? We just send you a packet.
It was a piece of cake. I did it I didn't even talk to anyone. I just did it online, and next thing you know, I had a sticker on my window, and here I am. I'm taking BerkShares.
So is there anything coming up other than recruitment? Is there anything interesting that people should know about?
Well, because we're growing so slowly and in a different business model than others, we're always adding services. We're always, as we get enough revenue, I guess, to venture into the next thing, that's what we're doing. So this year is going to be, I think, a huge year for us. We're hoping to be more of a player at the airport as far as the services that are provided. We're hoping to have staff there 7 days a week, at least in the summer months, whereas right now we're more of a by appointment kind of a business. I mean, there's people there all summer, but in the winter, you could drive over there and there might be nobody there. So we're trying to become more of a staple at the airport. But the scenic flights, we're constantly adding things. We're working on a audio tour along with what the typical tour that we operate. It makes it easier for us to provide a consistent experience for people. And the flight school, we just recently put in a big flight simulator. So little things like that are our growth right now. But depending on what happens with the administration building at the airport, where the business could go from here as far as more of a management role at the airport, instead of just providing the scenic flights and flight instruction, is a possibility.
What do you look at when you go on a scenic tour? What do you see? And does your pilot tell you about what you're seeing?
Well, I might be your pilot. I mean, most of the time it's me that's doing the flight, and I've been doing scenic flights since 1996, I think. So I've done this same loop around Berkshire County for 20 years, and I've gotten to know some of the history of Mount Greylock, the Hoosick Tunnel, all the museums. I've learned a lot because basically as we're flying, I'm pointing out these sites and giving a little bit of history on how they came to be and what's going on there now. There are some same questions I get on every single scenic flight, never fails. People can't believe how many trees there are out there. I mean, on the ground, yeah, okay, you can see woods off the side of the roads. It seems like there's a lot of woods out there, but when you get in the air and you see the tiny stretch in the middle of the valley that's actually populated, and then an entire view of trees as far as you can see where there's nothing, that's pretty amazing to people. They love to go right by Mount Greylock. You can wave to the people up on the top of the mountain there. We always get a lot of response from that. And people are amazed at how many houses have swimming pools around here. That's another thing that's always pointed out. But, you know, the specialty minerals site, the limestone quarry, it looks enormous from the air, whereas from the ground you don't notice it so much. So that gets a lot of positive and negative comments. And the windmills, which I wasn't too sure I was a big fan of when they put them up, because they, to me, were kind of more of an eyesore than anything else. But now they're one of the things that people are excited to see on the scenic flights for strange enough reason. I'm not sure why.
Maybe because they're so big. They're very impressive.
Know.
Are there things that you see a need for in the local economy throughout the Berkshires? Are there certain things that you've
Well, I mean,
noticed?
everybody wants there to be more jobs, obviously, and the problem with tourism is a lot of the jobs are not real well-paid, family-earning jobs. And so I am just sold, and I've supported this administration that's currently in place in North Adams because they're sold on the fact that we have to capitalize on what we have. Everybody wants more jobs. Everybody wants more industry. Everybody wants a big factory to come in and employ a bunch of people with benefits and that are going to support their family. But it's a lot easier to just talk about that than to actually come up with a plan to make that happen. And so what we have here that everywhere else in the world doesn't have is this arts community. And the art tourism is something that I've never been interested in the past, but I totally support, because it's something that is unique to this area that can push us to the next level that other areas aren't on the same level to compete with. And I think once that tourism area grows, then you get more people in the area that are employable by other businesses, and you can grow the other sides of it from that point.
And one last question. What are the opportunities these days for people who want to be pilots?
Oh, this is why we're so into the high schools right now, because when I was first thrown into the job market for flying, there wasn't really much for jobs. I instructed for a long time before an opportunity came up. But right now, the airlines are desperate for bodies. And literally, to just have the licenses the college degree and the number of hours minimum required by the FAA guarantees you a job at the airlines. So we are pushing hard with high school students. This is an opportunity to make 6 figures a year in North Adams and stay here your whole life, commute to work, and come back and live in an area that's beautiful and is cheap to live. And so we're really, we are trying to convey that to students that don't really have much of a plan other than I'm going off to school and I'll just figure it out later. So we're trying to get them before they go off to school so that they can guide that education towards something that is a career.
Great. Well, you haven't taken any BerkShares yet at TeamFlys, right?
No.
So we'll work on getting you some BerkShares this summer, perhaps. And thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. This was the BerkShares Business of the Month. And you can find more at www.berkshares.org and also at teamflys.com.